Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine getting your hands on a text from centuries ago,
Right.
and it promises this, like, comprehensive list of tangible benefits, 77 of them, just from attending a particular religious service.
Yeah.
What does that tell us about, the power people saw in ritual back then? Especially this ritual. That's what we're diving into today.
And the text we're looking at is pretty specific. It's a meditation, and it's rooted in the work of Martin von Cochem.
Okay.
He was a German Franciscan priest, a theologian, back in the 17th century.
17th century. What was happening then?
Well, think about his context. He's writing after the huge devastation of the 30 Years' War and widespread plague. Really rough times.
Wow, okay.
So he saw this great need for, like, clear, accessible religious instruction. People were grappling with hardship, spiritual ignorance. His book on the Mass actually became very popular.
So our mission then, with this source material you've shared, this meditation based on Cochem, is to really pull out and understand the core claims it's making. Specifically, this huge list, the 77 claimed fruits, graces, benefits from participating in the Mass.
Now, it's really essential right up front to address how this specific source material frames these benefits. It explicitly states that these 77 points are linked to the traditional Latin Mass.
Okay.
And it goes further. It claims these benefits are primarily acquired when the Mass is celebrated by clergy. It describes it as validly and legitimately ordained, but not in union with what the source calls the Vatican II sect.
Right, and just so we're absolutely clear for everyone listening, when the source uses terms like traditional Latin Mass,
Often meaning the form after the Council of Trent, yeah.
and contrasts it critically with the Novus Ordo Missae,
The Mass revised after Vatican II in the 60s.
or uses that term Vatican II sect for the mainstream Catholic Church after the Council. This is the specific perspective and terminology of the source material itself.
Absolutely crucial.
We're just presenting this information as it appears in the document you provided. We're not, endorsing or refuting these labels or claims.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We're reporting on the content we're exploring.
Exactly.
And the source also presents a really strong critique of the Novus Ordo. It claims it was intentionally altered, involved Protestant input, and therefore the benefits listed cannot be guaranteed from it. Again, that's the source's specific theological argument.
Got it.
Our focus is just understanding this document's claims, its worldview, which sees this almost, incredible level of efficacy tied to the traditional Latin Mass.
77 benefits it's a remarkable level of detail.
It really is.
It's not just, you'll feel better. It's a granular breakdown. So let's dig into the premise. According to this source, how does one actually acquire these 77 graces?
Okay, so the text emphasizes acquiring these benefits by prayerfully celebrating or attending the traditional Latin Mass.
Prayerfully attending.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, it specifies clergy. It considers validly and legitimately ordained, but not in union with the Vatican II sect, celebrating with due attention and gravitas.
So the way it's celebrated matters.
It does. The source quotes the Council of Trent, saying the Mass is the most holy work, requires great devotion. But then it adds that even just a fervent desire to assist with reverence is sufficient, even if you don't feel like intense, sensible devotion.
Okay, so the internal disposition, the intention is key, even without strong emotion.
Exactly. The interior counts.
That makes sense. Okay, let's jump into this list. 77 is daunting. But if we group them, what's the first big theme the source focuses on?
Well, it starts right at the absolute core of the belief, the divine action happening on the altar. The source claims benefits flow directly from God's involvement.
Like what, specifically?
For instance, it lists as benefits, numbers 1 to 3, that for your salvation, God the Father sends his Son.
Okay.
The Holy Spirit changes the bread and wine.
Right.
And the Son of God himself comes down and conceals himself under the forms, the appearances of bread and wine.
So the very act of God becoming present is listed as a benefit to you.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it really emphasizes the depth of this presence. Point number 4 states that Christ is present even in the minutest particle of the host.
Wow. Even the smallest fragment.
Yeah. And later points, like 56 and 57, talk about the benefit of spiritually eating Christ's flesh and drinking his blood and being privileged to behold him hidden under the veil.
So this intense focus on the real presence is really foundational to the whole list.
Absolutely foundational.
Okay, so starting with that divine reality, how does the source then connect this divine action to Christ's life and his passion?
It frames the Mass as making those saving events mystically present, right here, right now, Benefits include, cones 5 and 6, the renewal of the mystery of the Incarnation,
Okay.
and Christ being born anew, mystically, on the altar. Then it moves to his earthly life, number 7, claiming he performs the same acts of worship as he did on earth.
So it's like you're there.
In a mystical sense, yes.
Yeah.
And very significantly, benefits related to his suffering, numbers 8 and 9.
Yeah.
He renews his bitter passion and mystically renews his death, sacrificing his precious life for you.
So attending Mass is presented here as a way to directly access, or maybe participate in, the saving events of Christ's life, especially his suffering and death on the cross.
Yes, exactly. Seeing the Mass as a renewal or a representation of that ultimate sacrifice.
Which naturally leads, I guess, to benefits about sacrifice and reconciliation with God.
Makes sense, yeah. That's central to the traditional theology of the Mass.
Right.
Absolutely. So the source lists multiple benefits flowing from Christ offering himself as a sacrifice for your benefit. It calls it a true burnt offering, rendering supreme honor, it's number 12, a sacrifice of praise, number 14, a perfect sacrifice of thanksgiving, number 16.
Okay.
The all-powerful victim reconciling you to God, number 18, and the most efficacious peace offering, number 26.
So it covers like all the purposes of sacrifice, giving glory, thanking God, making amends, asking for peace.
It presents the Mass as the culmination of all of these, offered specifically for the attendee. And this sacrifice has very direct consequences according to the source, particularly regarding sin and the penalty due for sin.
Ah, okay. This is where the list gets very personal, very specific about the effects on the individual soul.
Yeah, it catalogs numerous benefits here. You gain pardon for venial sins, that's number 19, less serious sins in this context.
Okay.
Reparation for many sins of omission, number 20, so addressing the good deeds you failed to do.
Right. Things you should have done.
Exactly. Removal of imperfections, number 21. Forgiveness of unknown or forgotten sins, number 22.
Forgotten sins too. Okay.
Yeah. And satisfaction for some debts and transgressions, number 23. Striking your breast with compunction, deep regret for sin during Mass is listed, number 53, as remitting some sins. And even conversion grace is offered if you happen to be in mortal sin, number 54. That's understood as serious soul-endangering sin.
That's quite a comprehensive list of ways the Mass impacts your standing regarding sin. And there's a particularly powerful claim here about penance, isn't there?
There is a really striking one. Point number 24 claims, each time you hear Mass, you can do more to pay the penalty due to your sins than by the severest work of penance.
Wow. More than the severest penance.
That's the claim. It's a pretty bold assertion, placing participation in the Mass above even intense personal acts of atonement in terms of paying off that temporal punishment for sins.
That really elevates the perceived power, the efficacy of attending Mass within this whole system of belief.
Hugely.
So, moving from dealing with past sins, what about making new requests? Prayer and intercession seem like a natural next area.
Yes, definitely. The source connects the sacrifice directly to prayer. It claims benefits from Christ's own intercession, numbers 27 and 28,
Okay.
stating, his blood and wounds plead for you, each wound like a voice calling for mercy. And because of this, your petitions, your prayers offered during Mass are granted far sooner than at other times. That's number 29.
So your prayers get a kind of divine boost because of Christ's sacrifice happening right then and there.
That's essentially the claim, yeah. The source asserts, number 30, you can never pray as well as while you're present at Mass.
Right.
And it describes Christ uniting his prayers to yours and offering them to the Father, number 31, making your salvation his particular concern, number 32. And what's fascinating is it also includes the angels. Angels present at Mass also plead for you and present your prayers before God's throne. That's number 33.
That paints quite a picture. The whole heavenly court seemingly participating in your prayer life during the Mass.
It does.
The source also talks about the attendee's own role in this, which might seem a bit surprising.
It does, yeah. While the priest is obviously the minister, the source describes the layperson's spiritual role quite actively.
How so?
Point number 36 says that when you hear Mass, you are, in spirit of priest, empowered by Christ to offer the Mass both for yourself and others.
In spirit of priest. Okay.
And by offering the sacrifice, numbers 37 and 38, you present the most acceptable and valuable oblation offering or sacrifice.
And the really astounding part of that claim, the most valuable offering is...
Point number 39, you offer an oblation, precious indeed, for it is none other than God himself.
You offer God himself.
That's the idea. The attendee, through their participation, is understood to be offering God himself back to God the Father. It's a very powerful concept of spiritual participation in the priestly act.
That certainly elevates the attendee's role way beyond just being a spectator.
Definitely.
So beyond offering the sacrifice itself, are there benefits related to simply honoring God and others through the Mass?
Yes, the act of celebrating or attending Mass is presented as like the supreme way to give honor. The source claims, points 40 and 41, you honor God uniquely and give infinite satisfaction to the Trinity.
Infinite satisfaction.
Yeah, it's the highest act of worship, number 43, and pays the most profound reverence to Christ's sacred humanity, number 44. It's the best means to venerate Christ's passion and gain its fruits, number 45.
Okay.
But it extends even further. It's claimed to be the best way to venerate the Blessed Mother, number 46.
Right.
And give greater honor to angels and saints than by many other prayers, number 47.
So it's presented as the ultimate act of worship and veneration for the entire heavenly hierarchy, not just God directly.
That seems to be the scope, yes.
And what about benefits for your own inner spiritual state, your soul?
The source lists profound spiritual enrichment. It claims, number 48, that hearing Mass devoutly can enrich your soul more than by anything else in the world.
More than anything else.
That's what it says. It's described as a good work of the highest value, number 49. A signal exercise of pure faith receiving a great reward, number 50. And bowing before the host and chalice is a supreme act of adoration, number 51.
And there's another claim linking a specific, almost simple action during Mass to a heavenly reward.
Yes, number 52 states, for each time that you gaze reverently upon the sacred host, you will receive a recompense in heaven.
Just gazing reverently.
It ties that physical act of devotion during the rite directly to a concrete future reward. And point 55 adds that if you attend in the state of grace, God gives you an augmentation of grace, like an increase in spiritual vitality.
It really does catalog benefits down to individual actions and gazes. Does this historical text limit these benefits purely to the spiritual or eternal realms?
Not at all, actually. The source includes claims about temporal or, worldly benefits too.
Like what?
Attending Mass diligently is said to obtain corporal and temporal blessings. That's number 59. Preservation from many misfortunes, number 60. And strength against temptations, number 61.
So protection and even material well-being are included in the list. What about that significant moment, the time of death?
The text claims specific benefits for that crucial transition. Holy Mass is presented, number 62, as a means of obtaining the grace of a holy death.
Okay.
It's claimed, number 63, that love for Mass secures special help, succor from angels and saints in your last moments. And number 64 says that remembering the Masses you heard in your lifetime provides sweet solace and confidence in divine mercy right at the hour of death.
That's a very specific, concrete form of assistance promised at what's often a critical, frightening time for people.
Very concrete, yes.
And what happens after death, according to this source, specifically thinking about judgment and purgatory?
Well, the claimed benefits continue post-mortem. The source asserts, number 65, that Masses heard won't be forgotten at your judgment and will incline the judge to show you favor. You need not fear a long and terrible purgatory, number 66 says, if you've atoned by frequently assisting at Mass.
Okay.
And number 67, one Mass devoutly heard is claimed to do more to mitigate the pains of purgatory than severe penance.
That's another striking comparison, like the earlier one about paying the penalty for sins. Attending Mass is again presented as somehow more powerful than personal mortification.
Yes, it's a recurring theme. And there's a point, number 68, that directly compares Masses heard during your life versus Masses said for you after your death.
Oh, interesting. What does it say?
It claims one Mass in your lifetime will be of greater service to you than many said for you after death.
Wow. So it strongly motivates active participation now during your life.
Exactly.
Rather than just relying on others praying for you afterwards.
It really shifts the emphasis to the present moment and your personal agency.
And finally, according to the source, are there benefits related to your actual place or state in heaven itself?
Yes, the ultimate destination is affected. Points 69 and 70 claim that hearing Mass will help you attain a high place in heaven, and that your felicity, your happiness in heaven will be increased by every single Mass you hear on earth.
So it's not just about getting to heaven, but about improving your state within heaven, according to this specific perspective.
That's the claim, yes. Increased felicity.
And this immense power, these benefits, they aren't limited just to the person attending.
Exactly right. The source makes clear claims about benefits extending to others, too. The Mass is said to be efficacious, beneficial for friends, number 71. For benefactors, number 72. And for those who are afflicted, sick, and dying, number 73.
Okay.
You can also obtain conversion for sinners, number 74, and earn salutary graces, saving or beneficial graces for all faithful Christians, number 75.
So attending Mass is framed as this powerful act of intercession and charity for a really wide community of people.
Absolutely. And a very significant area of benefit listed is for the souls suffering in purgatory.
Right, purgatory comes up again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Point 76 claims abundant refreshment for them through your assistance at Mass.
Abundant refreshment. And the list concludes with an incredibly dramatic claim related to purgatory.
Yes, the final point, number 77. It states that if you can't have Mass said specifically for departed friends, you can, simply by devout assistance at the Holy Sacrifice yourself, release them from the tormenting flame.
Release them from the flames.
Yeah.
Just by attending devoutly.
That's the assertion. It attributes this enormous, almost tangible power to the individual attendee's participation, the ability to directly aid souls in purgatory through their presence at Mass.
That's a truly profound assertion about the perceived reach and efficacy of this religious ritual, extending even into the afterlife to alleviate suffering.
It is. And exploring this incredibly detailed historical list, it really provides a unique window, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Into how a theologian like Cochem, writing in his specific time and place, cataloged the immense spiritual and even temporal power he believes was available through this particular religious practice.
It's not just a vague idea of spiritual help. It's so specific, an itemized account of perceived outcomes.
Exactly.
It sort of breaks down the spiritual economy, as it were, into these concrete gains for the participant and for those they intercede for, covering everything from divine presence and forgiveness to temporal aid and eternal reward. The sheer scope is just striking.
The source meditation, drawing on Farah Sanchez, actually calls the Mass a precious storehouse.
A storehouse.
Yeah, where one can acquire greater riches than are to be found in all the things God has created. And get this, with little labor.
Little labor being the act of attending or assisting devoutly.
Right.
The source ends with a pretty strong call to action, doesn't it?
It does. It exhorts the reader or listener to appreciate this pearl of great price and resolve to attend the traditional Latin Mass diligently when possible, avoiding carelessness or, indolence, provided their state in life allows for it.
It's really an encouragement to fully value and utilize this powerful means of grace as understood within the framework of the specific historical text.
Precise.
The source meditation concludes by posing this really direct question: what do you now think of Holy Mass, O Christian? So maybe for you listening to this deep dive, regardless of your own beliefs or background, what does it mean to encounter a spiritual or religious practice cataloged in such exhaustive detail?
Yeah, promising such vast and varied benefits, covering nearly every aspect of life and death.
How does examining this very specific historical perspective maybe challenge or expand your understanding of how value is perceived in belief systems?
Or, the different ways the power and purpose of ritual have been understood throughout history. It's quite something to consider.